The
Business
Oddcast.
And hello and welcome to another Business Oddcast, another one of our episodes tackling all things business, odd and casty. Here I am, Stuart Morrison. I am one of your hosts. One of your other hosts is...
Hannah Logan. Hello. Hello.
Hello, Hannah. How are we doing this week and what is the topic of the week?
I'm pretty fabulous this week, or I'm feeling pretty fabulous. It's all good. The topic of this week is, God, there'll be some listeners, watchers relating to this. Why some rooms make neurodivergent brains scream.
Why some rooms make ND brains scream. I absolutely hear this. There are some places where I have to take a deep breath before I go to. Why don't you give us the introduction and let's get into it?
Yeah, so like you just said, really, have you ever, we've all done it, I'm sure, walked into a room or a space or workplace, networking event, etc., and instantly had that feeling that you just don't want to be there or you need to leave. Like I said, maybe it's a networking event, a coffee shop, any kind of shop, but your whole body is just like, no, I'm not staying here. But you're not quite sure why, really. So in last week's blog, we explored how our physical and digital environments drain our energy and productivity. And so this week we're talking about something slightly different, really. Why two completely identical rooms can feel completely different simply because of the people in them, the expectations that room carries, and whether our nervous system decides that it's safe to relax or not.
Yeah, very interesting. And for business owners, you're going to be going to a lot of places, from customers and suppliers to networking rooms. So this is really important that you understand maybe what's going on, maybe have some control over the shift in the energy or the feeling or the mood. So we're going to deep dive, we're going to explore, and we're going to have a look at all of that. The setup for all of this, the whole.
Well, let's start with networking,
Yes.
Stu, because you just said networking, and I think for a lot of people, but I can speak only from a neurodivergent people point of view. Networking isn't just about meeting people, is it? So that's why, in my mind, it feels, or it can feel, so weird, because it's a room of uncertainty. There's unwritten rules going on there. There's those kind of social expectations. So it's no wonder to me, really, that neurodivergent people can find it so exhausting. Because, like, when I go networking, and I know a lot of people will be nodding along to this, I'm sure. When I go networking, there's like a narration in my brain. I'm trying to read the sort of expectations of the room. I'm also trying to decide which version of Hannah is rocking up to this event. Am I like corporate Hannah, smashing looking for that 10K? No,
Breaking
I'm not going
through
to say
that glass ceiling.
That 6-figure month. No, I never said that. I take it back. But we don't know what the crowd's going to be like. Some networking events are a bit more pushy, a bit more salesy. That's not my vibe at all. Other networking events are just hanging out, picking the people you want to chat to, and that's, personally, I love that. I'd much rather have a couple of decent conversations than a kind of small talk on steroids around the room, which is utterly brutal. Also, we don't always know the unwritten rules, or I never know the unwritten rules of any event, to be fair. So, but if I don't know them, then how? And if no one's explained them to me, then how do I know what I'm meant to do when I get there?
Exactly. If one of the biggest problems is the unwritten rules, the what's accepted here. If you do not have that direct experience, or you don't intuit it, or you don't read it, or it's not a part of your internal plotting of what, the shape of the evening was going to be, then if you step outside the guidelines, how do you know?
You just don't, Stu.
You
That's
don't.
the point. Well, you do sometimes, because people have a face on them like, what? and I've experienced that quite a lot. I'll occasionally throw in one of my, in my mind, incredibly hilarious jokes, And then as it's fallen out of my mouth, I'm like, oh, I didn't read this little corner of the room very well, and now I'm being looked at like I'm a lunatic. So, and then you start to, because all events are different. Obviously some of them have common threads, but generally all events are different. And actually, the key, really, in my mind, is to end up working out which events work well for you and which don't. But I won't jump ahead because I think we're touching on that a bit later.
Yeah. But a lot of this is about in groups and out groups, isn't it? It's
the cool kids.
Very much, yeah. And if anybody is in my orbit, you're very welcome.
Always welcome. I think also, the cognitive load of that kind of management of impression, overthinking what people think of you. I spend a lot, or not so much nowadays, but I certainly did when I've probably been regularly networking for maybe a couple of years, maybe 3 years. And when I first was going, I was really micromanaging, what am I going to wear? And now I'm like, just put some clothes on, Hannah, and turn up and try not to swear in front of anybody. It seems to work quite well. You can tell that my effort levels have reduced, which actually removes a lot of pressure. So it's fabulous.
It works on different levels. I mean, before you even get in the room, you're putting on the character. There's that scene in Pulp Fiction. If anyone ever wants to think about how it feels like for a neurodivergent just before you go into a networking meeting, that scene in Pulp Fiction, if you've seen it, where you've got the two guns for hire, Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta's characters, and they go around to the back of the car and they're discussing, what's going to happen in the room, and then they say, let's get into character. And it's exactly that. You're in your head, you're like, oh, what if this conversation happens? What if that happens? What if this person's there? What if that thing, unexpectedly occurs? How are you going to deal with all these things? And you rehearse all this in your head, and then you literally put your game face on and step through the door. I use pump it up music in the car. I do like a little bit of high energy. I believe that I should enter every single room in a cloud of smoke and rock music or some kind of high energy with everybody whooping and cheering, because that's what I hear in my head.
like stars in their eyes, but cooler.
Yeah, I've weaponized my masking to a point where I am self-deluded.
You've got like a show reel that goes ahead of you.
Oh, well, you've seen me walk into a room. It's like literally I'm high-fiving people. They're like, who is this guy? The party started. You can begin. You've heard that song by Pink, get the party started. Yeah, that's it. Right, where do I start? How do I find the highest, most influential person in this room and make them laugh uproariously and outrageously and make everyone feel very comfortable with the idiot that just walked in? That's my entire game plan right there, folks.
Oh my God.
And then find a mic drop moment to leave. Or go to the toilets and never come back. Either or.
Climb out the window.
Yeah. Oh, you don't want to joke about that. I've walked out through a pub's kitchen before now.
I've had dates like that, Stu, where you just disappear out the window. That's how bad my ability is to say no, that I'd rather just ghost them halfway through the meal.
Well, that's going to put a whole new spin on when we go for a meal or a meeting and a chat, and you say, "Oh, I'm just going to nip to the loo." Will she be coming back? Is this the one?
I'd never do that to you, Stuart.
But there is a whole lot of monitoring that goes on. It's not just you're going in and you've got, your standard nerves that most people, I believe, suffer from walking into a room full of strangers. Me, I'm like, let's see who plays. I just completely different. There is a certain amount of self-editing. There is a certain amount of watching what you say, judging the mood of the room, trying a few things. I usually go for somebody who's wearing something loud and outrageous as well. There's that to compare with, or somebody who might have coloured hair. That's an easy in. Nobody dyes their hair who's dull.
That's such a good tip. I always do that. I look for the coloured hair,
or a bright scarf, or something which is like. I always think of it like this, and once you spot it, you can't not spot it. It's like early buds just poking through the snow, like the snowdrops, like just coming through, just like, ooh, oh, hello, I don't want to make too much of a noise. And all you've got to do is go over and prompt them. And before you know it, you're in a full-blown hilarious conversation full of japes and side tangents. It's fantastic. That's how we met.
It totally is.
I was like, there's my tribe right there.
The lady in the leopard jumpsuit.
It's fantastic. What's not to like about that? She was brilliant, magnificent, swanned in, looked around the room.
Proud in, actually, Stuart. I proud in like a leopard.
Yes, you did. You did. It was the guttural roaring that gave my attention the cue it needed to look.
Everyone else hiding behind the chairs and tables.
Oh my God. About to be mauled. So, but there's a lot of self-monitoring. There's a lot of putting on your best mask, being the best mask version of yourself that you can be. And of course, that changes with age and energy and tiredness and hunger and stress and pressure and a million other things which are draining your energy that day. But no, you walk in and you try and slap on the mask and mask as hard as you can. And a lot of the time it's about feeling safe. You feel like, oh well, I won't show them the weirdest stuff because you know that has not worked as a strategy for me in the past, and I'm sure it won't work for me as a strategy in the future. But so I need to put a lid on it, which I get over straight away with the loud suits. It's like, yeah, you're not going to have a normal conversation, so
That's
don't
your
expect
filter
it.
right there.
You see, this is where event tax rears its ugly head. The idea that an hour of heavy masking is going to take you maybe 2-3 days. It depends on what your base load of burnout is. You know, if you're running a high tab, a deficit, an energy deficit, your overdraft is very close to the edge and the limit of what your body is working with. It's no joke that an hour of heavy masking might be 2-3 days of recovery. I've been there, and nowadays I still need recovery. Like when we do one of our big shows, one of our big networking events at Signal, I won't work in the afternoon. I just can't. There's lots of energy. I need to go and not focus on other people's things. My brain needs to just go and rest. And if I am forced into that situation, then my weekend starts. It's the domino effect, you know. You can ignore it the first time, but then the second time and the third time, and then as you age and as your energy changes and as health conditions vary, your ability to bounce back from it. So it becomes even harder to work your way out of that kind of almost cash flow spiral of energy that. You're not getting the cash in quick enough, so therefore your energy's not growing quick enough, and you know the example is very apparent. But yeah, I would say avoid the event tax, because if you don't get it right, it takes brownout into burnout, and then chronic depression, illnesses, you know, self-loathing, all of that kind of good stuff that we all know about, because you've just tried to, you know, just be a bit more resilient. Oh God, if I hear that word more, you should. This is to help you make you. You should be more resilient. Yeah, no. Just take your resilience and shove it.
Shove it right. Yes, we won't go there, Hannah.
But it can also make a difference what you're going into that. You know, if that room is a known room, if you're full of your favourite people, then that's going to be different, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, the people in that room, often it isn't actually the environment itself that makes us fundamentally feel safe or unsafe, but more so the people inside it. So that's why I touched on it earlier a bit, but that's why I now really carefully select the events that I go to. At one point, I was just like a networking, like I'd turn up to any old event. I was like a needy networker. And quite quickly, I'd realised the ones that just made me feel, you know, like that terrible dream where you turn up to school and suddenly you're naked and everyone's like, ha ha, you know, that horrible anxiety situation. By the way, just to note, I've never turned up to a networking event naked. No one needs to see that.
Not yet.
Not yet. There's always exactly that.
Never say never.
Life goals right there. That's on the bucket list. But it's that difference, isn't it, between feeling accepted versus feeling evaluated, you know, that feeling of sort of being under that microscope can feel completely overwhelming. And the reality is that unless we have turned up naked to a networking event, we are not under a microscope. But some places, some people, you will feel more interrogated. You know, the events, we've all been there. Someone's like, what do you do? What do you know? So that's why I go to the same events, because I trust them. They're familiar. I know what to expect. There's one event I go to, I haven't been to for a little while, but they change the venue every time. Don't do that. Don't do that. I like it when it's the same bloody venue. That familiarity, you know the people that are going to be there. When I was less practiced in networking, I would actually message people on LinkedIn that I knew and say, are you going to this event? And once I'd got a couple of people that I knew were going there, that I trusted and liked, then I was safe to go. In my brain, I was like, okay, whatever happens, I can check out those people and it'll be all right. I'll feel okay.
Like a gig partner.
Yeah, absolutely.
Event buddy.
Yeah, totally. Because
And
then,
why not? Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
like a wingman.
Yeah, absolutely. At least you've got one person there that A, gets you and B, will talk to you. And that, you know, unlike dating, if you go on a date, I've just brought my mate Steve. Why? I needed to have somebody to laugh at my jokes and talk to me in case you didn't. You know?
I went on, my husband and I, actually, it wasn't recent, it was February, Valentine's Day. We went on our annual dinner together. And we've been together 23 years. And I was like, wow, this is awkward. It feels a bit like an interview, doesn't it? And he was like, yeah, Hannah, like, we've been together for almost half our life. It's probably all right. But it, you know, sorry, tangent time. But I think there are people at events, if you know them, even better. But there are also, like Stuart was saying, with coloured hair people and all of those things, there are people that we know integrally will put us at ease. You know, they are more often than not our people. We hunt them out. You know, I always hunt out and look for my people. I search for
She
the
stalks
spicy.
them in her leopard skin.
I literally prowl them. I climb up to the highest point in the room. No, I don't do that. I couldn't do that. And also, you know, the vibe in the room matters. If it's too hustly for me, if there's too many people talking about, you know, I keep going on. I think I've got a bit of a chip on my shoulder about 10-figure salaries. That's like
well,
my
it was
latest.
6-figure salaries
Six
earlier.
figure, that's it. Oh, yeah. Can imagine 10. Can you imagine the level of idiot that preaches to you about 10-figure salaries? I need to rein it in. I've got so much rage around this at the moment. I really am. It's bizarre. Anyway, we need to get Hannah away from that trigger point because I feel like I might have a little meltdown. So it's belonging versus fitting in.
That's a big one. That really is. And I don't expect, and here's a cultural throwback that only a small portion of the audience will get, but I don't think that all networking rooms are going to be like Cheers, you know, where everybody knows your name. But it really is nice when they do, you know, where you're accepted, where there's a general warmth towards you. It's one of the reasons why I stick with the few networking events that I stick with, because I don't feel like I'm tolerated. But I've got to a point where any of that, if they don't get me and I walk out there, out the room feeling a little bit less than or other than, well, I won't. It's just like you missed out on a great opportunity to talk to somebody you've never gonna speak to again. You know, you will literally have the most interesting conversation all week. I guarantee that, one way or another.
100%. The last event we went to together, there was this young guy that was, I won't out him, he was doing a great job, but he was quite early on in his business venture. And you gave him about 5-10 minutes of the best advice. And I followed up with him on an email just to see how he was doing, you know, on LinkedIn. And he was like, oh my goodness, Stuart gave me the best advice. You like put him in contact with people, and yeah, like utter game changer.
Oh, we've been in touch since.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I sent him a really long email, which I said to him at the end of it, unless you tell me not to, I'm going to publish this as a blog post, which went on my own personal website.
Nice.
Yeah.
He was a nice guy.
He is. He's a great example of somebody who I know I have every faith will do something different, interesting and worthwhile. Yeah. Good guy. Ben, if you're listening.
Shout out to Ben.
Shout out to Ben. But you know, that feeling where if you if you go somewhere, you don't feel like you're having to mask as hard. You can be yourself. You can drop your guard almost. Like if the mask does slip, it's not going to be a disaster because they know who you are. They know you're good at your core, and that makes a difference. I think absolutely game changer when you feel comfortable. Because you're more likely to have more comfortable conversation where you're going to be less likely to feel like, oh, I've got to do the corporate thing, which, by the way, I eschewed years ago. If you come and have a conversation with me and start talking about annualized returns, then pardon me for yawning. But yeah, that going to these places can be hard, and relaxing in them even harder. But then you add in a layer of variation of traits that can be present for any reason, like the perception thing. We haven't touched on this really, and it's a very esoteric thing. I've spoken to, my daughter has it definitely, and you see it come up occasionally, but the idea of being perceived is a weight, and being perceived by way too many people can feel overwhelming. The idea that everything you're doing is being judged, and the narrative is whispering in your ear like, oh, are they looking at me as I pull this and I do this, and it's a really hard one to explain because it's not really an emotional space, it's more an existential space. Like being in the back rooms, it's like, oh god, everybody's looking, it's all looking at me, and you just feel very aware of your own self. And that can be really tiring, and it's hard to explain to someone. And it's one of the reasons why quite a lot of the times when I'm doing some work, I cannot have somebody watching me, because it just feels like, what? So I'd make a terrible teacher. So all face the other way. You've all got to face the other way, and then we'll be fine. But that can take its toll, because you kind of get all up in your head, and you start. It's almost like you're reading the metadata for the event in your own head, and the reviews are not good. So this is one that I really struggle with, and it stresses me out, is overlapping friends groups.
Oh.
So you go somewhere and you run into somebody you're not expecting to, fine, you can cope with that. But then you run into somebody else who you know through a completely different set of, events, groups and all the rest of it. It's not so bad when it's a business room because you're there for that reason. But let's say you go to the pub and there's 3 different sets of friend groups which I've had at an event, and it was like, I don't know who to prioritise, I don't know who, and then the event concludes with people overlapping friends groups. Oh, Dave meets Steve, and you're like, you two are never going to get on.
You're like, step away, Dave and Steve.
Yeah. It's like the guy I am with Dave, I've now got to try and be that guy. All right, Dave, how you going? Is it all right? Steve looking at you like, why have you put on a strange
Why
voice?
you gone all gangster, Stu?
Yeah. But I kind of pick up the mannerisms and the talking habits of who I'm with, so it can be, especially if they're really characterful. It's like my brain just can't stop itself. It's like, why are you suddenly northern? I don't know, Dave. I don't know. It's Steve over here. He's got the accent. Blame him. It's infectious. Don't sit next to Dave.
Oh my god. Oh my god.
That's why I do voices all the time. Like all the time. My kettle's got a voice. My microwave's got a voice. And the voices change. So don't. I had an offended apple the other day. It was just looking at me a bit judgy, like, oh, so you've not eaten me? Yeah, I'm a complete food waste. Oh god, the fruit's talk. Put him away. The fruit's talking to him. Definite candidate for
time for an intervention.
Strapping down and putting in a room for his own good. But yeah, I mean that's the difference, isn't it? You can explore that and have fun with that with people that you are relaxed and comfortable with, and they're not going to look at you like, talking apples, what's he like? It is a bit much at a first event that you go to, but I'm a bit like, I'm either going to break you or you're going to come over to Team Stew. I don't care now. I've got to an age where I'm like, I'm done. I'm just merely entertaining myself until I die.
I love what you said about the overlapping friend groups because, and I'm certainly not alone in this at all, hopefully. Please tell me there's definitely other people out there doing this. So in my real life, I am lots of different people. So I'm like the chair of the parish council. We've done this before. Sorry, anybody that's like, yeah, you told us already. So normal me swears probably a little too much and is fun and generally quite hilarious. But like parish councillor me has to be a filtered version of that makes me more socially acceptable when talking about really boring shit. And then, we have the mum, me, which obviously tries to be a tiny bit serious as well occasionally. And then, so many, I really struggle. When I was a teenager, I went through phases. I was a goth, and then I was a hippie, chicky kind of girl, and then I had different friend groups for all of that. So I'd bump into somebody when I had bells around my ankles, and they'd be like, "What the fuck, Hannah? Usually you've got like black eyeliner on." Right. Well, I suppose that takes us safely onto. Look what I've done there.
Yeah.
Safely onto safety.
Safety onto safety.
Isn't always logical. So we're always making kind of assumptions and assessments based on our previous experiences, right? So, the memories we've had at other events and these sort of associations we have with certain people and events and stuff. So if we've been to a place where we've felt really included and comfortable, then we're expecting that again. Whereas if we've had a bad experience somewhere, we're probably preempting that, even though it's very unlikely it's going to happen again. But our nervous system is constantly assessing whether we're safe or not. So I like to play out different scenarios in my brain, like a kind of rehearsal before I go to an event, because then I feel like I've kind of prepped myself, like given myself a little team talk. And I always, Stuart and I have talked about this before, I always have a plan, an escape plan. So my escape plan is, and we did that last time we went to an event together. I wasn't feeling great. Actually, it was a great event in the end. And Stuart, you said to me, if you need to leave at any point, we leave. Just give me a sign, we leave. No questions, no judgment, no shame. And that was all I needed to be like, yeah, let's go and do this, because I felt safe knowing that there was a kind of plan. So that's why if we're going to the same events with the same people, the same place, same format, then that equals safety to us. Whereas if it's a whole new experience, new people, new event, new venue, then that automatically, without even getting there, it signals danger to us because it's so unknown. And a lot of us find that terrifying, if I'm honest.
Is there anything that you do that helps make things feel safe? Because sometimes you have to go ahead and do the thing, even though, I'll give an example. I often present at events, and it's literally like another day in the office. But recently I had an event, and just the 2 hours before it, I was dreading it, and I was like, why? It's full of people it's an easy crowd, it's all the stuff you know how to talk about, even if all the technology goes down. Why? And I couldn't put my finger on it, and I think it was just an lack of energy that and general other various bits and pieces just dragging my mood down. That safety feeling can sometimes be sort of misleading, or it's not necessarily the truth. So sometimes it's worth pushing against that resistance, but not if you feel like you genuinely feel like, no, this is going to be nothing but pain and heartache, and it's a voluntary basis. Do yourself a favour. Don't drain your energy for no reason. No,
absolutely. Protect that energy. But like you said, there are events, there are things we have to turn up to, not just work. If we have to go to something, a family thing that we can't get out of, can't feign an injury, then sorry, that's really awful. Then what I do, which helps, is firstly I always give myself a little talk, and I remind myself that there's been multiple situations like this where I've really freaked out. Then when I've got there, it's gone amazingly. I felt great, and I've reminded myself of those moments to say, don't forget this situation. You were really freaking out for a couple of days, and it went swimmingly. I also like to do quite a lot of, which is quite labour intensive, but quite a lot of research. If it's a new event, I need to look at a map. Where is it? How long will it take me to get there? Where am I going to park? It sounds a bit micromanagey, and it is really, but it makes me feel like I've already planned out as much as I can. I've taken back some control as much as I can on the bits that I have some kind of control over, if that makes sense.
So yes, you might want to look at our other podcasts. We'll put a link to them which talk about networking. They've been very popular. And when we talk about this stuff, we do get quite a lot of feedback. So if there's anything that you've been thinking about networking and you want a game plan, then our resources should help.
Well, that leads us on really nicely to point 6, really, doesn't it? That kind of safety of predictability.
Again, if you're going to events regularly, you know what you're going to face. But things like a changing roster of people and a changing venue, oh, come on, you're making it hard for me. You're making it like there needs to really be a reason for me to go along for there to be a reason for me to go along. Otherwise, it's going to be like, oh, I'm really sorry, I'm very booked up on that day. Just, yeah. I need some predictability. Do you need predictability?
Oh, gosh, I need so much predictability. I literally, and it's got worse with, I don't know if worse is the right word. I need it even more as I've got older. I think I'm much happier when I know what to expect, and, and my kids are the same.
That safety of predictability in everything, though, in everything. That's why you've got safe foods. That's why you've got safe programs. That's why you've got your safe playlist. That these are soothing elements in your life, little landmarks that you put in place to allow you to feel like, oof, I'm regulated, I'm cool, I'm calm. So, the other thing is, the other side of the networking event, don't put something hectic in. Don't back-to-back a hectic day with a networking event. Unless you really fancy it, obviously, but plan for a recovery. Definitely.
You taught me that, and it has been, when I remember, it's been a complete game changer. I used to quite like the buzz of like back-to-back networking. You'd come out the other side like you'd been to some kind of, weekend music festival or something, like your ears don't work anymore and you want to cry a lot. And I'd be like, yeah, and then I'd have to spend 2 days in a darkened room, like crying at like adverts. Just like, oh, I think I broke myself with too much small talk.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, don't do that ever again.
No. It's all about the safety, the psychological safety, the energy safety, the safety of outcomes, of unexpected outcomes. Again, if you're feeling a little bit weirded out about an event, email the event coordinator or the person who's running the event. They will happily send you an agenda and tell you what's going on and what to expect. They will be. I've never found a networking room that hasn't been at least welcoming of some inquiry about it. It might be a different matter when you get there, especially when everybody doesn't look like you, or everybody doesn't act like you, or everybody has what you perceive to be better, bigger, more flashy businesses and lives. But it's mostly just window dressing
and bullshit.
Yeah. That's my entire life: window dressing and bullshit. Tick, tick.
That's a mission statement right there, isn't it, Stuart?
I've got a degree in bullshit and
window dressing.
And window dressing, yeah.
We've talked about the importance of safe spaces, but actually as business owners, leaders, colleagues, friends, people running events, we have the ability to, there are things we can do to make those spaces better, safer for people. It's all about inclusivity, really, isn't it, amongst other things?
Well, that's the inclusive piece that you've got to work on. Is it's no good going out into the world and go, oh, I only want inclusivity for the people who look like me, because that isn't inclusivity. That's exclusivity. That's exactly the problem we're trying to fix. It's like, if we make it inclusive, it has to be inclusive for everybody, or at least everybody has to feel like they are welcome.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key for me, is the key spot, that you don't hone it for one type of person and then exclude it to everybody else. Yeah,
absolutely. And I'd be lying if I didn't say that I have been to neurodivergent events which are just for us spicy, magnificent folk. And they are my safe place because they've got like comfy chairs and everyone's got purple hair, and it's just that was that wasn't actually real. That was a giant generalization. Even I don't have purple hair. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They've been designed by somebody that totally gets that, and the sole aim of that is to go out of their way to make that space easier for the people coming to that event. But of course, most networking events, or a lot of events in general, need to be for everybody. As you know, I struggle to stand up for ages. I can't go to an event that doesn't have some ability for me to sit, or some kind of facility, not ability, for me to sit down at some point. And I went to a networking event ages ago, and there were no chairs anywhere. So I immediately went up to the bar, because it was at a hotel, and just said, "Are there any chairs?" And the runner of the event, not runner, the host of the event came over and said, "Is there a problem?" And I said, "I just need a chair." And she said, "No, we don't have chairs. We encourage people to keep walking, keep moving around, keep networking." And I said, "But I'm physically disabled. I need one." No, we don't. We like people to stand and.
Well, at that point, the conversation changes to, "Let's get you a chair." Surely.
The conversation changes to, "Why are you lying on the floor, lady? Why is Hannah throat punched a random stranger in a hotel in Farnborough?" No, I didn't do that. I quickly had. But actually, funnily enough,
How did that end? How did it end?
So in the end, I took it into my own hands, which unfortunately is often, well, not unfortunately, but it would have been great if they'd just done it, right? But in the end, I said, "You know what? Actually, this isn't working, is it?" So I went to the bar. I stopped talking to the host. I went back to the bar and said, "This is a hotel. Where would I get a stool, a bar stool?" "Oh, they're all out the back." "Could you get me one?" "Yes, of course." And in fact, immediately, a lovely lady that we both know and love as well, who does have purple hair, and also has issues with standing for too long, came straight over to me. I got her a chair as well, because I knew she was there. And she came straight over and said, "Thank you," because she'd been leaning on a wall for the last hour. And I just thought... sorry, I'm aware I've gone into a bit of a rant.
No, it's
that wasn't
important.
My point.
No, it is important to recognise this stuff.
I've never been back to that event, and actually the runners of the event were great, or the hosts are great. It's a great event. Can I say great any more times? And yet I felt irritated, because it's not unusual. My disability isn't not unusual. A lot of people will have back problems, can't stand too long, or circulation problems like me.
Hang on a minute. There doesn't need to be an excuse. The conversation is, "Do you have a chair, please? I have a need to sit down. I'll find you one if I can find you one. Let me go away and make some inquiries." Not, "You need to now go through a disability assessment test whether or not you need a chair." That's
walk on this line, madam, without a stick.
Whether it's I extended myself too much at the weekend playing sports and have ripped a tendon or need to, or whatever, to an invisible disability. Maybe you've got a circulation issue and you need to, like you say, you can't stand for long. I'm sorry, you don't get to judge that. You don't get to judge how your disability impacts me. Just go and get me a fucking chair.
Get me a chair, or I'm going to find myself a chair and hit you with it. No, I won't.
Get me with a chair, or you'll be in one with wheels.
If I ever get arrested, it will be because somebody is, or they'll come and find this episode and say she was threatening violence from a younger age. I mean, it's interesting, isn't it? Because here's another example of an event I went to again, and another really good event. There was a woman, very brilliant singer, a woman in the background singing the whole of the networking part of the event. And it was loud and it was brilliant. She was brilliant. I couldn't hear anything that anybody else said in the room. It wasn't so much the volume of her, but my ADHD brain was just singing along to the brilliant woman. And people were talking to me. In fact, I probably wasn't missing an awful lot, a lot of small talk. And I couldn't hear anybody. And then I get embarrassed because I'm having to try and lip read. So I look like I'm going to go in for a kiss because I get really close to their face. It's all a bit creepy. And you can see them thinking, "Oh my God, I've pulled already."
Yeah.
But they look fearful. Not they're like, "Oh no."
No.
Sorry. So again, that's another example really of the things that we can do if you're hosting an event, to make sure that actually you do consider. There was another lady at that event with the singer. Another woman came over to me. I do attract people. They see they watch me advocate for myself. They come over and join my tribe.
It's
magnificent.
It's very, very intoxicating to see somebody stand up for their own rights.
It's utterly beautiful. And this woman came over and she actually had a hearing an issue with her hearing. One she was deaf in one ear, and she said, "Thank you for saying that," because in fact they turned the woman's sound system down a bit, and then we could all hear each other and do the best of both worlds. But yeah, it takes somebody. I wasn't an idiot and I wasn't rude, but it does unfortunately take people to make a stand and just say, actually, that, you know, have you considered that there will be people in this room that can't cope with that?
But when you find the people that you click with, when you find your tribe, your clan, those people that make you feel energized and excited to go to those events or see those people at that event, that's the game changer. And what you've got to realise is business represents people from all over the political, cultural, social and economic spectrum. And you aren't going to vibe with the vast majority of them. You're just not. You know, they've got different life experiences, different expectations, different goals. But the ones that you do, they're going to be the ones that are the game changers, because they will be thinking about you in positive terms. They'll be looking out for you. They'll be having conversations with you that you are fully invested in, and you're like, yes. And those are the projects, and those are the people, and the conduits to the projects with the people, that when you are in a psychological and physical and emotional safe space with a bunch of people, wonderful things can happen. You will amaze yourself at your ability to adapt, improvise, overcome, share, develop. I said this to you the other day in a chat, and the more I think about it, the more it rings true for me. And this isn't a hard and fast thing, but it's something that I've observed. In improvisation, there's a principle, a guiding principle that's yes and. So if somebody says something on stage, you don't shut it down, you go with it. You know, somebody walks on stage and goes, "What's this elephant doing there?" You go, "There is no elephant, you idiot. I can't see an elephant." You go, "Well, I'm really sorry, but, you know, I didn't have a return label. Apparently it's going to ship." You know, you're in the moment, you respond and add to it. And I've noticed that people who I have no understanding of everybody's diagnosis, but people who seemed to exhibit certain traits, because there may be gaydar for gay people, but there is definitely a spectrum for the neurodivergents, and I have a spectrum on a few people pinging that I know, but you will vibe with them and you will feel comfortable having that conversation, and they get you or are willing to allow you to have your oddities. And I think that is the game changer of finding your tribe and just finding the people that you vibe with the most, and coming together and going, how do we work together to make it sensible for all of us? And you might be able to work something out, you might not, but that's where the interesting thing, like the Oddcast, you know, I vibe with you, we had a chat. If this had not panned out, then it wouldn't have panned out, but you know, it did.
Here we are,
35 episodes in. So yeah, I would definitely say that whether you find your people online or whether you find people in actual real physical rooms, when you meet the people that elevate you and lift you, that's the people to cultivate, and stop going to the other ones out of a sense of obligation, because you need to cut that out of your life. And the people who expect that in your life need to go as well. So it's incredible that the people who are on the spectrum are more likely to vibe with you in that improv way, with a yes and, whereas I found that people I don't vibe with, they're much more likely to challenge you and shut you down and contradict you and talk over you. And that for me is the red rope. And the way I think of it is, the neurodivergent like to dance and the neurotypicals like to duel. They like to have a fairly combative conversation. And I know immediately when I'm in one of those in a networking room, and nowadays I just withdraw from the conversation gracefully and with humour usually. But I realise that we're not going to get on. So why continue? You know, it's like going on a date and you don't get on, so end the date early. Nobody says there has to be a time limit on it. Just agree as two humans. Did this work? No. Did you feel? Yeah, let's go. Let's be adult.
Or just don't tell them about it, just leave.
Ghost them out the window. Padded shoulders. They're looking at you. Why has she got the big hair, padded shoulders, and the dress when we know she's leaving through the toilet window?
Soft landing.
And that's it. I think we've covered the topic. We've gone through it. We've had a look at all of the various aspects of why the room might not feel safe. Hannah, maybe you'd like to share your takeaways.
Yeah, some takeaways. So I guess a reminder, first off, that feeling safe is about a lot more than just the physical environment, because our nervous system is constantly responding to the people and those expectations and previous experiences and stuff. So remind yourself of that if you're in a situation where you don't, you aren't feeling particularly safe, emotionally safe, or And also that psychological safety is absolutely vital, as it enables us to let our guard down without feeling like we're going to be judged. So when we're in a safe place and we feel like we can let our guard down and be ourselves, then we can actually really truly be our authentic self. Then you're not kind of having to keep up that mask. And you can
It's the
actually just
second
enjoy
guessing.
it.
Yeah, the second guessing.
And also, because when we're masking, and of course, we all do mask. I'm sure of it. I still do as well. It's not. I've not perfected that. But when I am masking, it changes how the environment feels, because I'm self-monitoring, and it's completely mentally exhausting. So ideally, you need to try and get away from that. Because if all you're worrying about at an event is how you're being perceived and the mask, making sure the mask doesn't slip, then why are you even there? It's just a waste of energy for you, really. And also the importance of belonging. When you find your people, you go to events where you're going to feel safe and relaxed, then you truly belong there rather than just trying to fit in. Because trying to fit in is awkward and not always particularly successful.
Yeah, I don't want to be included just as an apology.
Yeah.
We'll let the specials in.
Let the special, he's
Give the
coming. Here he
specials.
is in his special suit. Come on, let him in. He's a bit tall, but he'll get in under the. And finally, really for the takeaways, just my top tip is 100% finding the events. Yes, of course, there'll be things that you have to go to because life sometimes just makes you go to some stuff. But actually, ultimately, finding the events, the people where you feel the most comfortable, you can be your authentic self, because that's really, really vital. It helps build your skills to go to events where you don't feel so familiar and you don't feel so safe. So it's giving you that armor, those tools to then be able to accept or to cope with the events that you haven't been to before and stuff. So it's all important stuff, isn't it, Stu? What about, have you got any tips?
Well, my tips, I've kind of sort of been dripping them in throughout, so it's more of a recap. Pay attention to who leaves you feeling uplifted and energised and upbeat and positive. Pay attention to those people who you feel like, oh my God, another 5 minutes in this conversation and I'm just going to jump out of a toilet window.
Or go to prison.
Yes. So, be aware of that and don't gaslight yourself to it. It's very easy to go, oh, well, shut up, they're fine. No, don't shut up. Listen to that little internal voice that goes, not right. There's something there that's telling you that. Analyze it, learn it. Why? What's the thing? Get good at spotting your people. Notice those environments where you can be authentically yourself and try and seek those out and try and think, why did this one feel all right? It was different to the other one in what regard? Was it maybe you were told beforehand, or the host made you feel comfortable on the way in, or you had a full expectation even though you had not been there before of what to expect? Whatever. And then try and design that into any of the events or any of the places that you have any input in curating and creating. That then comes to asking for and advocating for yourself for agendas, information beforehand, requesting all of the basics of will there be this at the event or that at the event, just clarifying that your needs are going to be met. If I need to sit down, will there be a chair? Clarifying that ahead. If they said no, there's no way of having a chair. Well, I'm really sorry, I can't come. Rather than finding yourself there, then having an awkward conversation whilst you're also in a psychologically unsafe situation, because you're like, so if I continue at this place, my option is I either have to be the arsehole and wave my arms around and advocate for myself, or leave, or put up with a painful situation which is going to take me days to recover afterwards. And learning that all out in real time, such an energy drain, on top of having got yourself there in the first place. It's a minefield, definitely. Also, confirm expectations with others. Do it proactively in reverse. When I come, I will expect this or that, or if you're coming to me, expect this or that. I'm sorry, it's going to be a bit noisy, or my dog will be there. Is that okay? All of those things will allow the other person to make accommodations and a judgment call for themselves, rather than being thrown in. I had a particular friend who's no longer a friend. We'd agree to meet up at a place, or he would come round and pick me up, and then I'd be hijacked. I used to call it being hijacked. Because it'd be like, oh yeah, we're going to that thing. Yeah, well, I've just got to run a couple of errands first, and I've got to go and do it. And it would be an hour of driving around, of doing various things. And it's like, you've not built this in, and now I have to sit through watching you do this thing before we go to do the thing that I thought we were going to do. Nightmare. Again, like I say, a reason why certain people aren't any longer in my life. I would also suggest this. So this is what I do after an event. I always give myself time. Like I said, if I do a big event in the morning, I will have the afternoon off, and that's presenting an event. That's different to going to an event. And if I'm going to an event, I will 9 times out of 10 have a fairly low bar day. So it won't be a high impact day on top of a high impact morning. But if I am presenting an event, and that's usually a 2 or 3 hour of fairly intense networking, and also managing the room, managing people, managing everything to do with the room, the vibe, the noise, all sorts, then I would have the afternoon off or the next morning off. And this is what I will do. I will unpack the day. I'll think about it. What went right? What went wrong? Why did it go wrong? What could I have done in future that will prevent that from going wrong? Then I will decompress. In other words, let it all go. Doesn't matter. Made a fool of myself. Doesn't matter. The right person would have seen me, and we would have connected. And if nobody's connected, then that was, I went fishing and caught nothing. Well, fine. That's fine too. I get a chance to recharge, because, you've got to recover after these events. But notice that the period of time of recovery is the Friday afternoon, not the weekend. The weekend is preparing for the next week. Like I say, rest is readiness for what's to come, not reward for what's done. And spend more time in spaces where you feel able to be yourself with the people that you are a best fit. Think of it like jigsaw pieces. All the jigsaw pieces in a puzzle box are only going to fit several pieces around them. They're not going to fit. And if you're an edge piece, I'm a corner piece. I always think of myself as a corner piece.
Yeah.
Like, there's only a few people that are going to connect with me, but when they do, they'll be the right people. Just getting clear on your own needs of what makes you feel particularly safe. What things do you need to wear a certain outfit? Do you need to have certain accommodations in place? Do you need to know certain things in advance? Get very clear on those, and your life becomes a lot easier. And that's it. That's our show. That's it this week. If you've got anything that you'd like to add, anything you'd like to explore, any notes, any comments, any quips, any input, please get in touch with us, hosts@businessoddcast.com. We've got a lot more content coming up for the neuro-inclusive workplace. It's been a slow burn, but the trait talking series will continue through the rest of the year. We've also got a load of new resources coming. I mean, there's going to be a workplace review audit. That's coming. The neuro-inclusive quotient. NIQ, look out for that. And we're doing some talks. There's a 30-minute training video. There's all sorts of stuff coming over the next few months. So from September onwards, it will be really starting to take shape on the website. Keep your eyes open for that. Neuro-inclusive workplace. Hannah, any final comments, any final words? Obviously, like, share and subscribe. If you've been listening and you feel it's been of value, tell someone. We've recently had a spike in listeners. We seem to have done something right, and we are now over 2,000 downloads. So we're absolutely motoring. So what's next week's topic, Hannah?
So next week is the beginning of August, Stu. Exciting month, my wedding anniversary, just in case. I don't know why I'm telling anybody that. It's irrelevant. My husband's not listening and he's the only one that really needs to remember. So anyway, tangent time. So August is a magnificent theme. I mean, every month is, but August is particularly good, in my opinion. The theme for August is special interests and hyperfocus. The passions that drive us, the obsessions that consume us, and everything in between. Ooh. I think we've a lot of us have got special interests and hyperfocus abilities, haven't we, Stu?
Yeah. It was 36 hours this week editing our training video, just making it the best I could make it. Talk about hyperfocus.
I loved it because I was getting like an update, which I absolutely loved, and you were like, done another couple of slides. They took me 4 hours, but I did this. But when I watched it, it is just, we'll send you all there to watch it. It's magnificent when it's up and live and stuff, but utter work of art.
It's there. It's quite good. It just needs the final last little tweaks, and I'm sure it'll be fine. But other than that, thank you very much for listening. Please get in touch if you've got any questions or, like we say, any suggestions. We love to hear from the audience. Thank you very much, and we'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye. Step away from PAYE. Don't do it.